One day, I was cut from the family chat with no warning. A year passed in silence. Then my phone buzzed. They weren't reaching out to reconcile. They only wanted something from me. You ever have something small happen? So small it barely registers. And then weeks later, it hits you like a gut punch? That was me. The day I got silently removed from the family group chat. No warning. No explanation. Just gone. It happened on a Thursday. I remember because I was stuck at work, bored out of my mind, scrolling through old texts while my lunch got cold on the desk. I had not seen a single message from the FamBam chat in days, which was weird. Normally, it was constant noise, memes, baby pictures, passive-aggressive reminders from my sister Lisa to RSVP to things I was never invited to in the first place. So I scrolled back through the thread. Dead silence for me. But I noticed the timestamp of the last message said, yesterday. That made no sense. I had not seen anything. I tapped the chat again. Nothing loaded. Just a blank screen and a small line at the bottom. You cannot send messages to this group. I blinked. Refreshed. Tried again. Same thing. I actually laughed, like it was some glitch or maybe I had been bumped by mistake. I closed the app. Reopened. Nothing changed. I was out. No dramatic goodbye. No. Hey Mike, we're making a new thread. Nothing. Just erased. At first, it felt like a tech hiccup. But that night, it started creeping in. I sat there in bed, the room dark except for my phone screen. I stared at it, trying to make sense of what I had done. Did I miss a birthday? Forget to respond to something? Post something stupid on Facebook? Then the questions turned inward. Was it something I said at Thanksgiving? Was I too blunt when I told Mom her casserole was dry? Did I roll my eyes too obviously when Lisa bragged about Ethan's robotics club for the 100th time? I told myself I was being dramatic. It was just a chat, not some sacred family altar. But I could not let it go. That group thread, dumb as it was, had been my only real tie to the people I shared DNA with. My family was not close, not really. We were the kind of family that did holidays out of obligation, birthdays through forwarded e-cards, and love yous only when someone was in the hospital. But the chat had been something. It had noise. Even if most of the time it was baby photos or arguments about who left the back gate open. Now, just silence. And that silence had teeth. The days that followed, I started noticing how many little things had depended on that thread. Weekend plans, family updates, even dumb jokes that gave me something to chuckle at during boring workdays. Now it was all gone. I was out of the loop, on the outside looking in. And the worst part? No one said a word. Not Lisa, not Mom, not even Ethan, who used to send me dumb conspiracy videos at 3 in the morning. Not a single person reached out. That was when it really started to sink in. I was not just removed from the chat. I had been removed from the family. And the next morning, something happened that made it even clearer. The next morning, I woke up to a picture on Instagram. It was Lisa's story, one of those boomerangs where everyone's fake laughing while holding up coffee mugs. It was them, all of them, sitting around Mom's kitchen table. The caption read, "Morning fam chats and pancakes #Saturday squad." They were laughing, smiling, wearing pajamas. Ethan was even wearing the hoodie I got him for Christmas. I stared at it for a long time, like maybe if I looked hard enough, I would find myself hidden in the background or mentioned in the caption. But I was not there, not even tagged. And that was when the denial finally gave up and walked out. They made a new chat, a new thread, and they just left me out. I felt it in my chest. That hollow feeling like your stomach just dropped through the floor. I had not felt that since Dad's funeral, when they left me out of the slideshow and pretended it was an accident. That was the moment it stopped feeling like a mistake and started feeling personal. I did not message anyone. I could have texted Lisa and asked what was going on. Could have sent Mom a polite little "Hey, did the chat move?" or something. But I didn't. Instead, I just watched. For the next few weeks, I became this sad ghost, lurking on social media while they all kept posting the happy family act. New inside jokes. Ethan got a haircut, and everyone commented on how grown up he looked. Lisa's youngest lost a tooth. They all celebrated like it was some national event. And me? I sat alone in my tiny apartment, eating leftover pizza and refreshing the page, hoping, no, begging, to see one message that had my name in it. I would scroll in bed, late at night, half asleep and still staring at that same picture, trying to remember when exactly things had turned. Maybe it was when I skipped Christmas 2 years ago because I could not afford the flight, or when I told Lisa I was not watching her kids anymore because I had work. Or maybe, they just got tired of me not being like them. Because I am not. They all live within 5 miles of each other, go to the same church, send their kids to the same school. They have matching Christmas pajamas and weird group costumes on Halloween. Me? I moved out of state. Work in IT. Never married. No kids. I spend my weekends hiking, fixing up old motorcycles, and reading weird nonfiction books. Maybe I just did not fit their mold anymore. But even knowing that did not make it easier. Because deep down, I kept hoping this was some temporary glitch. That someone, anyone, would notice my silence and reach out. I waited and waited, but nothing came. Not on my birthday, not on Thanksgiving, not even when I posted about losing my job. Just silence. And then, one night in January, the silence broke, but not in the way I had hoped. It was late January, about 10:30 at night. I had just gotten home from a miserable shift at the warehouse. Cold air clung to my jacket, and my back was killing me from unloading pallets solo because the new guy bailed halfway through the day. I kicked off my boots, dropped onto the couch, and checked my phone out of habit. Missed call from a number I did not recognize. Voicemail too. That alone was weird. Nobody leaves voicemails anymore. Not unless they are old, stubborn, or desperate. I hit play. It was Lisa. Her voice was overly sweet, almost syrupy. That fake tone she always used when she needed something. Hey, Mikey. Long time, huh? Hope everything's good. I was just wondering if you might be free this weekend. We kinda ran into a little situation and could use your help with something. Nothing huge. Just get back to me when you can. Love you. I stared at the screen like it had just insulted me. No, sorry for the silence. No, hey, we miss you. Just a favor. I didn't call her back. Not right away. Instead, I let it simmer. I walked to the fridge, grabbed a beer, and sat in that silence I had gotten used to. I thought back to every time they needed me. When Ethan's car broke down, who did they call to help tow it? When Mom's internet stopped working, who got the late-night tech support call? When Lisa wanted someone to babysit for free while she went on her yoga retreat? Me. Always me. And when I lost my job? Crickets. I let the voicemail sit for 2 days. Then I got a text. From Mom. That one hit harder. Her message was short. Heard from Lisa you are being stubborn. Family needs you. Call her back. That was it. No, how are you? No, sorry we ghosted you. Just an order. It was like the whole past year. My silence, my absence, meant nothing to them. I was not a person. I was a tool. A backup plan they could shelve and pull out whenever it was convenient. I could feel the anger rising. But more than anger, it was this dull, familiar ache. That same one from when Dad used to call me the forgettable one in front of his buddies. That same ache I felt when I showed up to Ethan's graduation and found out they had taken family photos before I arrived. Every time I thought I had let it go, they found a new way to remind me exactly where I stood. Outside, looking in, I finally called Lisa back. Not because I wanted to help, but because I wanted to hear what nonsense they were spinning this time. She picked up on the first ring. Oh my God, Mikey. I was just saying I hoped you'd call. Her voice was high and cheerful, like nothing had happened. I asked her what was going on. Oh, so, funny story, she started. I could hear kids yelling in the background and the clang of dishes. Ethan's moving into that new place, and we realized the truck we rented is not going to cut it. Remember how you said your buddy has a trailer? We just figured maybe you could come down Saturday, help load a few things. You know, classic Mikey saves the day? I did not say anything. She kept rambling. It'd mean a lot. Mom's cooking. We'll have food. You can even crash at our place if it runs late. That last part stung, because I was not even sure I had a place in their lives anymore. But there it was, the moment they needed me. Suddenly I was family again, and for the first time in my life. I told her no. The silence that followed my no was delicious. It stretched out for a few seconds, like Lisa could not process what she had just heard. Like her brain had to run it through a few times before accepting it. Then came the nervous laugh. Wait, what do you mean no? I repeated myself, calm and steady. I'm not doing it. Figure it out. Another pause. Then her tone changed. That fake sweetness started to melt, and something sharper crept in. Mike, come on. You're really going to be petty about some chat thing? That was months ago. There it was. The deflection. The rewrite. She made it sound like I was being childish. Like I had started the distance. I told her the truth. That I did not even care about the chat anymore. What hurt was the message it sent. That I did not matter enough to include. That no one noticed when I disappeared. Or worse, They noticed, and they did not care. She went quiet again, but not for long. Then came the guilt trip. You know Mom has not been sleeping well. She misses you. Ethan's been trying to reach out too. We all thought you just needed space. I let out a dry laugh. They always pull that card. Mom misses you. Ethan's trying. We thought you needed space. No one ever just says it. No one ever owns it. They left me out. They shut the door. And now that it is inconvenient, they want me to pretend like nothing happened. I told her I was tired of being their fallback. The afterthought. The background character in their little family sitcom. She did not deny it. She just sighed and muttered, "Okay, I guess I'll tell them you're out." Like it was a team sport and I had benched myself. I hung up without saying anything else. For the next few hours, I kept waiting for the regret to kick in. That old guilt that usually showed up whenever I stood up for myself. But it never came. Instead, something else showed up. Relief. It was the first time in my life I said no to them and meant it. No pretending. No apologizing. Just a clean, solid boundary. That night, I slept better than I had in months. No late-night scrolling. No imaginary conversations in my head. Just silence. And this time, it was peaceful. Over the next few days, I started noticing something strange. I was walking taller. Talking clearer. Even my coworkers noticed. One of them, Jess, actually asked me if I had started working out. I hadn't. But something inside me had shifted. A kind of mental weight had been lifted. That small act of saying no, it was not just about the favor. It was me finally choosing myself over people who only ever saw me as useful. I started focusing more on my own life. Signed up for night classes. Fixed up my old Yamaha bike and took weekend rides out past the city limits. Spent evenings in silence with books or podcasts instead of noise from people who had never really heard me anyway. And somewhere in that silence, I found something else I had been missing for years. Peace. But peace has a funny way of getting tested. And 1 year later, they came knocking again. Only this time, it wasn't a call. It was a full-on visit. It was a Sunday afternoon. Mid-September. I had just gotten back from a long ride up through the hills, bugs on my jacket and wind still in my hair. I was sweaty, sore, and dead set on doing nothing but ordering a burger and zoning out with a movie. Then came the knock. Not the kind of knock from a neighbor borrowing sugar or a delivery guy with the wrong address. This one was slow, heavy, deliberate. I checked the peephole. Lisa. And behind her, Mom. I stood there, hand hovering over the knob, heart suddenly racing. I had not seen either of them in over a year. Not in person. Not since the day I disappeared from that group chat and never looked back. I opened the door, but only partway. Lisa smiled like nothing had happened. Mom's expression was softer. Nervous. She held a Tupperware container like she thought showing up with food would erase everything. We were just in the area, Lisa said. I stared at her. She knew I hated that line. No one's ever just in the area of my place, I replied. I live 40 minutes from civilization. Mom spoke next. Can we come in? Just for a second. I hesitated. Every part of me wanted to shut the door, to protect the little life I had carved out without them. But I stepped aside. Not for their sake, just so I could hear whatever excuse they had traveled all this way to deliver. They walked in slowly, looking around like it was their first time visiting some Airbnb. Lisa spoke first, like always. She launched into some rambling story about how Ethan had been trying to get into a tech program and hit a wall. He needed a reference, some kind of mentor letter. And since I worked in IT now and had some connections, there it was, that familiar feeling. Not "how have you been?" Not "we're sorry." Just another request. Another hand outstretched when their world got messy. Mom set the Tupperware on the counter and chimed in, voice low and sweet. We know things got weird, but we're still family, honey. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. They stood there like a pair of strangers, trying to wear their old faces. And all I could think about was the hundreds of days between now and the last time they bothered to speak to me. No birthdays. No check-ins. Not even when I posted about getting promoted. Just radio silence, until they needed something. Lisa kept talking. She said Ethan was struggling, that he had made mistakes, but this program could turn things around. That it was important to all of them. I asked her, plain and simple, would you be here right now if you didn't need something? She opened her mouth, closed it. That was all the answer I needed. Mom stepped forward, tried to touch my arm, but I flinched without meaning to. Her hand dropped. We thought giving you space was what you wanted, she said. No, I replied. You gave me absence. Space means someone plans to come back. They both went quiet. I let that silence stretch. And for the first time, they had to sit in it. But then Lisa said something I never saw coming, and it flipped everything upside down. Lisa looked me dead in the eye and said, "Ethan's not the only reason we came." Her voice was tight now, the charm stripped away. Mom shifted uncomfortably beside her, eyes on the floor like she already regretted being here. I raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. Lisa continued, slower this time. "It's Dad." That hit harder than I expected. My shoulders stiffened. "He's sick," she added. "It's not good." I waited. Let her finish. "He had some tests done last month. Heart issues. And now they're talking about surgery, but the insurance, well, you know how it is. Complicated. Expensive. We're stretched thin, Mike." And just like that, it all made sense. This was not about Ethan's little career woes. This was the family Hail Mary. A final desperation play disguised as a reunion. "You want money," I said flatly. Lisa flinched. "No. Well, maybe. But more than that, we need help. We thought maybe with your job and your place and everything." I stopped her there. "You thought I still cared." The words came out sharper than I meant. But they were true. For a long time I did. Even after the chat. Even after the silence. Even after watching all of you move on without me. I held on to this stupid idea that I could still matter to someone in that house. But the night I lost my job and posted about it, and nobody texted, that was when something broke. Mom finally spoke. Her voice was low, almost breaking. "We messed up. We know that." I stared at her, waiting for more. Waiting for the part where she said sorry. But that was it. "We messed up. Not I'm sorry. Not we hurt you." Just a vague blanket statement, like she had knocked over a glass of milk, not dropped me out of her life. Lisa tried to clean it up with her usual line. "We're family, Mike. That means something." I laughed then. Quiet, bitter, exhausted. "To you. When it's convenient." For a long time, I thought family was supposed to be unconditional. That no matter how far I moved, how different I became, there would always be a place at the table for me. But the truth is, I had been benched a long time ago, quietly rotated out of the game without ever being told. It started with the group chat, but it never stopped there. I started seeing all the ways they had been removing me for years. And now here they were, standing in my living room, not to reconnect, not to make peace, but because they ran out of other options. They wanted me to rescue them. And for the first time in my life, I was not sure if I should. Then Mom said something I was not ready for, something that flipped the guilt back on me and forced me to face a memory I had buried years ago. Mom's voice dropped to a whisper, like even she was afraid of what she was about to say. "You stopped visiting after the hospital, Mike." I froze. She did not need to say which hospital visit she meant. It was 5 years ago. Dad had a stroke. Not a big one, but enough to shake everyone up. I had driven 6 hours straight after getting the call. Showed up in the same wrinkled work clothes I had worn the day before, still reeking of coffee and stress. I remember walking into that hospital room, flowers in one hand, awkward smile on my face, only to find Lisa, Ethan, and Mom all gathered around his bed, laughing, watching some video on Lisa's phone. No one looked up, not even Dad. When I said hi, he just grunted and went back to his jello. No hug. No thanks. No glad you're here. I stayed for maybe 40 minutes. Spoke to the nurse. Sat in the corner. Ate a vending machine sandwich in the lobby. Then I left. No one noticed. No one followed. And yeah, after that, I stopped coming around. I had never told anyone how much that moment hurt. How small it made me feel. Like a stranger in my own family. Like I was crashing someone else's reunion. I stared at Mom now. Older. Thinner. Her hands trembling slightly by her side. "You're right," I said. I stopped coming. Because I finally realized I wasn't really welcome. She shook her head. "That's not true. We were just overwhelmed. We didn't mean." I cut her off. "You didn't mean to ignore me? You didn't mean to cut me out of the group chat? You didn't mean to go 12 months without checking in once?" Her lips quivered. She looked down. Lisa stepped in, of course. "Mike, none of us are perfect. We're not saying we handled everything right. But holding on to grudges doesn't help anyone." There it was again. Grudge. That word they loved to throw at me anytime I remembered the things they wanted to forget. What they saw as me being bitter, I saw as me finally keeping score. For years, I had bent over backwards. Babysat their kids. Paid their bills. Bit my tongue every time I was the butt of a family joke. I was the backup plan. The family errand boy. The one who gave and gave and gave. And when I finally stopped, I became the villain. I looked Lisa dead in the eye and said what I had never dared say out loud before. You don't miss me. You miss what I used to do for you. She flinched. Mom sighed again, and for once I saw it. The weight of age. Regret. Fear. Not of losing me, but of losing the easy version of me. The agreeable, available, always there Mike they thought would never change. And that was when I made my choice. Not just for them, but for myself. I walked over to the kitchen counter, picked up the Tupperware Mom had brought, and held it for a second. It was heavy. Some kind of casserole, probably. Her way of softening the edges. Food as apology. The same trick she used when I was a kid and Dad said something cruel at dinner. Like a warm plate could cancel out being made to feel invisible. I set it gently back down. Not angry. Just done. I am not giving you money, I said quietly. And I am not writing Ethan a letter. Lisa's mouth dropped open. But, I raised my hand. Listen, I know this is hard. I really do. But I am not the one you lean on anymore. I needed you all. For years. I was drowning half the time and still showing up. And none of you noticed. You left me out of everything. And now you're standing here pretending like we're still close. I took a breath. I've forgiven a lot of things. But forgiveness doesn't mean access. That last part hung in the air like smoke. Mom sat down on the edge of the couch, looking pale. Lisa started pacing, arms folded like she was trying to wrap her head around the new rules of a game she used to control. You're punishing us, she snapped. No, I replied. I'm protecting myself. I had spent most of my life believing that love meant sacrifice. That family meant being available, no matter how badly they treated you. I thought if I just gave enough, stayed loyal enough, they would eventually see me. But they never did. So I stopped showing up. And for once, they noticed. Too late. Lisa looked around like she still expected someone to back her up. But there was no Ethan here. No Dad. No backup choir to sing the usual tune. Just her. And Mom. Sitting in the home I built without them. I'm not cutting you off, I added. But there are rules now. If you want to talk, fine. But you're not using me. You're not calling when things fall apart and disappearing when they're fine. Neither of them said a word. You don't get to rewrite the past just because you're uncomfortable with it. I opened the door. That was it. The boundary. Clear. Final. Quiet. Lisa looked like she wanted to scream. But she didn't. She just grabbed her purse and stormed out without saying another word. Mom followed slower. At the doorway, she paused. I do love you, she said softly. I nodded once. I believe you. But love has to show up. She blinked hard, then walked out. And as I stood in the silence that followed, I realized something I had never been able to say until that moment. I was not lonely anymore. I was free. A week passed. No calls. No texts. No angry voicemails. It was quiet. Not awkward quiet. Not that gut-wrenching silence I used to drown in after being excluded. This was different. Peaceful. The kind of quiet that felt like closing a door and finally walking away from the noise. I thought that was the end of it. Until I got an email. The subject line read, "Just read this, please." It was from Ethan. I almost deleted it without opening. I figured it would be more of the same. Guilt. Pleading. Excuses dressed as apologies. But something made me click. It was short. Just a few lines. I know you probably hate me. I don't blame you. I didn't know what they were doing when they made the new chat. They told me you asked to leave. I found out the truth months later. I didn't say anything. I was scared to stir it up. But I should have spoken up. I am sorry, Mike. Truly. I wish I had your strength. I read it twice. 3 times. Then just sat there, staring at the screen. For a long time, I had painted Ethan as the golden boy. The favorite. The one they all rallied behind. And maybe he was. But that email, it cracked something open. He had known. He had stayed silent. And that, in some ways, hurt even more. But it also confirmed something I had long suspected. They did not just forget me. They chose to pretend I had walked away. They built that lie together. Protected it. Maintained it. Because if they admitted they had pushed me out, they would have to face what that said about themselves. It was easier to believe I had left on my own. That I was cold. Distant. Difficult. That I had abandoned them. The truth? I had waited. Waited for someone, anyone, to knock on my door before they needed something. And no one ever did. Not until now. I closed the email. Did not reply. Not yet. Because what I felt was not anger anymore. It was clarity. And then, 2 days later, I got one final message, this time from Dad. The message from Dad came late at night. It was a single text. No greeting. No punctuation. Just his usual dry, clipped tone. Heard you told them no. Thought you'd come through. Guess I was wrong about you. That was it. No, how are you? No, I'm sick and scared. Just a cold assessment of my worth, based entirely on what I could, or could not, do for them. I stared at it for a long time. Not because it hurt. Not this time. It just confirmed everything I had spent a year trying to figure out. They did not love me. They loved the version of me that said yes. The version who filled in the cracks. Who dropped everything to solve their messes. The version who never said what he needed because no one ever asked. And now that he was gone, they felt entitled to judge the man who replaced him. I did not reply to Dad's message. Instead, I blocked his number. That was my final boundary. A year ago, I would have felt guilty. I would have wrestled with it for weeks. Wondered if I was being cruel, selfish, dramatic. Now I understood something I had never truly believed before. Family is not about blood. It is about effort. It is about who shows up when you are low, who listens when you speak, who notices when you disappear, not because they need something, but because they care. And once I let go of the version of family I had been raised to protect, I started building something better. I reconnected with friends I had ignored for too long, started hosting little dinners at my place, let people into my life who wanted to be there, not out of obligation, but because they chose to be. And one night, sitting around my kitchen table, laughing over some burned garlic bread and cheap boxed wine, it hit me. This is family. Not perfect, not loud, not bound by history or shared last names. Just people who made space for each other. I still think about my old family sometimes. I wonder if they ever truly saw me, or if I was always just the background noise between their louder stories. But I do not hate them. I just stopped waiting for them. That text from Dad? It was not the end of the story. It was the moment I finally realized it had never been mine to begin with. So I started a new one. And in this one, I am not the forgotten son. I am the one who walked away and built something better.